Hey guys, welcome to the channel. I wanted to do a video on fear of being in the wrong relationship, which, as we know, with most people with ROCD, they have this and they're trying to figure out whether they want to stay, whether they want to leave, whether there's someone better out there for them, things like that. So, what I want to take a look at is the different sorts of fears that are behind this, and also the different compulsions that can be associated with this fear, right? So, because there are a multitude of things at play over here, so it's important to look at different things so that we also know what is it exactly that we should be disputing, and what kind of exposures can we also do based on the behaviors that we are uh, the behaviors that we're doing with this theme. But before I go on, please subscribe to the channel, like this video, and let us know what you think about this. So, when there's like uncertainty at play, whether you're in the right relationship or not, there are like so many different things going through our head. And when we are ruminating about these things, it's like one thing after the other, after the other, after the other. So, what are some of these things that can come up? So, one thing that is common is fear of wasting the other person's time, right? So, because we think that because we're in the wrong relationship and they're so invested in this and we feel so doubtful about it, we are wasting their time. They want to continue this relationship, we don't, therefore we're the bad guy. Or there's also a fear of wasting our own time, where like I could be doing something better with my time, I could be with someone who is better suited for me, so I should not waste time. And therefore we have this urgency to try to figure out whether this is the right relationship or not, because then based on that we want to make a decision of whether to stay or whether to break up. Then again, fear of not being with a better option, right? So we kind of scan around in our environment. Oh, is that person better? Is that better? Sometimes we are also comparing our ex with our current partner. Maybe my relationship with my ex was better, right? Maybe I should go back to her or something like that. Or maybe this other friend or person that I get along with better, I think I should pursue them, right? So of course then you're kind of like scanning for or thinking that maybe there are other options, and comparing your partner to other people, even some stranger that you see on the street, right? You might be comparing your partner to them because it's like, oh, they look better than my current partner, so maybe I should switch. Attached to this is, of course, what if I'm happier with somebody else as well? Then you have also a fear of leading your partner on because you are doubting the relationship and you feel like you might be wasting their time or you're wasting your own time. The other thought that comes up is, I'm leading them on, I am being a fraud over here, I am deceiving them, and I need to let them know ASAP what I'm thinking, because if I don't, then because I also want to give them the option, and then I want to give them the chance to leave the relationship as well if they feel like that with me having these doubts whether they still want to stay around or not, right? So it's about that I don't want to lead them on, I don't want to deceive them, and they should know like the true honest picture of what's happening. Then it's also about fear of regretting the relationship many years later, that 10 years later will I be satisfied or fulfilled in this relationship, right? And what we're trying to also do is, and we're trying to really imagine the future in as vivid detail as possible, and we're really trying to see that, okay, if I imagine being that many years later with the same person, do I perceive any kind of happiness coming to me even 10 years later? Do I see any certainty coming to me that many years later? And of course, there's no saying anything about that question. So it's again, it's a compulsion where you're checking your feelings in that imagined scenario. Then this is the same as, fears that I just mentioned above, which is like fear of living under false pretenses. So again, that you are lying to your partner, that you are having these doubts, they don't know about it, or if you have already confessed to them, then they know about this, and you are like still living with them and like being fake happy with them, and like living this like, fake, empty, hollow kind of relationship, and then you start feeling guilty about that. um then I'm trying to understand my own handwriting. Fear of keeping your doubts about the relationship to yourself, because if you, let's say, if you haven't confessed to them, or even if you have and then you continue to try and not confess, that makes you feel like a really bad person, because you feel like you're keeping something from them, which is where the initial urge to confess comes from, that I shouldn't keep this to myself. This is important, urgent information. The other person needs to know this. So it's kind of like this fear of keeping that kind of secret as well. Then, if you've met their family and they've met your family, and everybody gets along well, then you attach extra importance to what will their family think of me. So I'll not only be causing them hurt, I'll be causing their family a lot of hurt and disappointment as well. And that's too much disappointment to like have on my shoulders. I can't deal with that. How will I deal with that? Then, of course, I mean, fear of chronic guilt and shame, which is perhaps one of the core fears over here, which is again with most of the fears that I've mentioned, with like wasting their time, deceiving them, wasting your own time and whatnot. There's an element of regretting it a lot, which is a fear of regret, fear of feeling guilty about it, and fear of being unhappy, and fear of being uncertain for the rest of your life. Because the other reason that you're trying to figure this out is because you want to have absolute certainty over what's happening, what's not happening. So not having absolute complete certainty is something that really terrifies you, because you think that is exactly what is going to threaten the relationship, and it's going to threaten your happiness in the relationship. Then it's also fear of living with feelings or attraction towards somebody else. And that's where, and I'll just get to that part where we talk about compulsions, where it is then we are thinking that we'll be a bad person if we keep this to ourselves, and it's going to be like this dark secret that we have inside, that we like somebody else maybe, or we are having feelings of finding other people attractive. I shouldn't, like, that shouldn't be happening. So you feel bad about that on top of that. And then you might feel the need to break up urgently because of that if I'm having feelings and attraction towards other people and not just for my partner, then that definitely means I need to break up, because let me just rid myself of this menacing feeling, and I'll just be by myself. Then what it also attaches itself to is, what OCD attaches itself to is also fear of not having good sex as well, because we are really analyzing our intimacy with our partners as well, and trying to measure, is this good, is this not, did I have like the ultimate form of pleasure, was this like the most fun it could have been, do we have great chemistry? And that analysis is also what gets us in trouble, because then we're trying to imagine ourselves with other possible people and other possible partners, and trying to imagine whether we would feel more chemistry with them. If you have children with your partner, then it's also about fear of disappointing your children, fear of being a disappointing parent. And maybe if you're in the wrong relationship, for example, then it's also about, what if I'm in the wrong relationship and now I have children with this person? Now I have to be tied to this person for the rest of my life. And that gives you a feeling of being stuck as well. And fear of feeling trapped. That's also, I haven't written this down, but just as I'm speaking, I'm realizing that that's also a big one over here. Fear of feeling trapped in the relationship, fear of not feeling like you have freedom, fear of losing any kind of agency and control over the choices that you make. So, and feeling like you won't be able to then leave. So it's also then breaking that down. Now, just before I move on to the compulsions part of things, I do want to highlight that all these fears that I have mentioned, like, no matter how many you are experiencing from these, it is really important to break all of these down and dispute them as to why this wouldn't be the worst case scenario. Because with all of these, even if all of these come true, even if they are true right now, it still doesn't make it the absolute worst thing that has 100% consequences and just no benefits and no other good side that you can't handle, and that you can't adapt to it. You absolutely can. But it takes a while. It really takes a while to look at this perspective and see what the rational side of this fear might be, and what the rational side of this irrational belief might be. That this must not happen, this must not be true, this must not be this way. All that kind of control element and that internal demanding and must that we have, that things should be exactly this or not like this. That's where it comes from. I can't break each and every one of these down, because I think each and every one of these are very significant on their own, and this would probably be like a 2 hour video if I start to break each of these down. But the importance of highlighting them though is that because when we're trying to work on these fears, we're not sure. We say that, oh, I'm just afraid of being in the wrong relationship. Like, I don't know how to break that down. I don't know what other thing I can, focus on, or what other perspectives there are. But it's not just that fear in isolation. Yes, that's the overarching fear of being in the wrong relationship. But if you really look at it and break it down, there's so many other fears attached to it. And trying to like dispute those different fears and stuff is what's going to help see it from various angles, right? So some of the compulsions that are associated with trying to figure out whether you're in the right relationship or not, of course, aside from rumination, because that's something that you are primarily already doing, trying to work it out in your head if this is the right one or not, trying to analyze the entire situation. Other things you might be doing are planning or discussing the future with your partner and then checking your feelings based on that. That I'm discussing the future with them and we're making some future plans. So while I'm having this conversation, do I feel good about it? Do I feel in love about it? Do I feel very happy and nice about it? Or do I still have doubts? Or am I thinking that no, this is not something I want? So you're checking your levels of wanting it or not wanting it, and you're checking your levels of love and investment in the relationship or not when you're having that. And then we compulsively try to have conversations with them about the future to try to figure it out, to also see that, oh, do our plans align with theirs? Is there any kind of compatibility like that? Of course, the jury is out on that, because there's absolutely no way of having certainty over that, because life circumstances change after every few months. And so there's no way of knowing whether 5 years down the line something will work out or not. Then saying I love you and checking your feelings, right? So that can be compulsive. Or you might not be saying I love you because you are afraid that you'll say it and you won't mean it, because you're having doubts about the relationship, and maybe this is not the right relationship, and you don't want to constantly like say it to keep them hooked in the relationship, so you also don't say it. So it can either be saying it too much to check your feelings, or not saying it at all for fear of being the leader honor, right? The person who leads them on and is like deceiving them and stuff like that. Then of course confessing and reassurance, like that's a like no brainer. That's obviously one of the most common ones that's happening. Confessing your doubts to them, saying that, do you think we can make it? Do you think that we have compatibility? Do you think, like, do you want to be with me as well for long term? And if I'm having these doubts, are you willing to put up with my doubts as well, and like having to figure it out every time? And so it goes into like a deep dive rabbit hole into like what the relationship means, where it's going, where it's not going, what do they think, and stuff like that. Then again, if there are children involved, or even to your partner as well, saying to them that I'm never going to leave you, that's also becomes like a self-reassuring statement as well, because you're saying it to kind of convince yourself actually that, hey, like I'm not going to leave this relationship, I'm invested, I'm here, I'll always be here. I work with someone who is also saying that, and if she's watching this video, she knows I'm talking about her, is that she was saying that like sometimes even when her kids are sleeping, she whispers to them, I'm never going to leave you. And I was like, that's actually a bit creepy. Like, I don't know if I would ever do that to my kids, but yeah, I mean, basically obviously we were joking, but it becomes like a self-reassuring thing as well, that no, I do want to be here, I will never leave. And if I'm telling my kids I'll never leave, then I'm also holding myself accountable that I won't leave. But you can also be saying this to your partner as well, like, casually saying, hey babe, I really love you, I'm never going to leave you. Again, creepy vibes, but works. Not wanting to be apart for too long, because spending time apart kind of gives a lot of people anxiety, especially if they're afraid of being in the wrong relationship. They think being apart is going to create more distance, it's going to create a bit of a disconnect, and maybe then what if in that absence I realize that this truly is the wrong relationship, and no, I want to be in the presence of my partner at all times. So not wanting to, let's say, go on a trip by yourself, or feeling anxious when your partner goes on a trip, or if like for whatever reason you have to spend some time apart, it kind of doesn't make you feel that great. And so wanting to stay together at all times, or wanting to, if you are apart, then wanting to cut that time short, or if you are apart, then trying to make sure that you do calls and texts and everything very, very regularly so that you keep in touch and whatnot. So all of that happens. Then avoiding contact or trying to wait, what have I written? Um, yeah, sorry. If you so you might be afraid of interacting with other people. With, let's say, if you're afraid that you might not be in the right relationship with your husband or boyfriend, then you might be interacting less with other males in your life. Um, or if you or on the husband side, you might not be interacting with too many females because you're like, oh no, I don't want to doubt my relationship. Or sometimes it's also like trying to interact too much to check your feelings, that, oh, like, if I interact or hang out with this person, does this confirm or deny my fears that are about my own relationship? So we might be doing it not at all or too much. Porn is a big compulsion over here as well, that really fuels that cycle of fear of like being in the wrong relationship, maybe not having the best intimacy or sexual chemistry with your partner. And for, especially with a lot of guys, this is a big compulsion, and it really that fear of missing out on another experience or another better relationship is really fueled by adult videos and adult websites. So that would have to be stopped, because for a lot of people it is a very compulsive thing that they do on a very regular basis. Checking social media and checking other couples on social media. So checking influencer people, checking, like, friends who are in happy relationships, checking their Instagram, seeing how they're doing, what they're saying, how they're interacting, all of that. Then asking other people as well that, oh, how did you know that you were in the right relationship? How does your relationship work? So really trying to figure out the dynamics of their relationship to compare it to yours, to again figure out whether you're in the right one or not in the right one. If they're happy for so long, then I must be doing or should be doing the same things that they're doing. So I need to make sure that I'm also on track in the same way, right? And then anything that's different between your relationship and theirs kind of throws you in a bit of a panic cycle. Um, then following tons of accounts on social media about relationship advice, relationship therapists, love coaches, stuff like that. Following too many of them, watching too many TikTok videos on, oh, what are red flags? Oh, how do you know you're in the wrong relationship? Or what are some signs you're unhappy in your relationship? Like these kinds of like videos and Instagram posts and whatnot, like we thrive on them, not in a good way. I mean, OCD thrives on them. So you'll have to take them out of your life at least for a significant period while you're still working on recovery, because all those accounts are not, in this case, it's not an exposure necessarily. um it's, you are using that information and those accounts way too much to check and compare all the time. If you are in that boat where you are completely avoiding any content related to relationship advice or like things like that, then of course it's a good idea to read some of those posts, because then it's a good trigger. But most people, most of the time, they are indulging too much in that content. And then obviously then we have concepts like the ick and stuff like that that people get really caught up in. I think Nick wants to do a separate video on that, but maybe I might also do a separate video on that as well, right? Tracking your intimacy with your partner. This is something that sometimes people do. Oh, how regularly are we having sex? Are we not having enough sex? Should we be having more? Should we be trying different things? And that comes into play quite a lot as well. So you'll have to start doing that, because you're also then checking the health of your relationship by doing that. And again, the same as following accounts about like relationship advice, reading a lot of relationship stories and relationship accounts, that, oh, what does this person say in their blog about how they navigated their relationship and stuff like that. And then we're also trying to look for specific people and specific stories that match the details of our lives or of our relationship somehow, so that we can be at par and be like, oh, there's someone in a similar boat, so maybe I need to do exactly what they are doing to be successful. Again, bad choice. So again, to recap everything, these compulsions have to go. The fears that we talked about earlier in this video have to be broken down. The worst case scenario for most people comes down to fear of living in guilt, fear of living in regret, fear of being unhappy for the rest of your life, or fear of having living in uncertainty for the rest of your life, because nobody wants to do that. And most of these things are coming from a place of making your relationship your entire life, thinking that, oh, if this relationship is there, then I'm happy. If this relationship is not there, then my entire life will crumble down and I will be unhappy for the rest of my life and always look back on this particular relationship as like the one best thing in my life, and I will never be able to get over it. So you're literally ignoring all other aspects of your life and making this the central focus and the only focus, in fact, of what you think your life is or is supposed to be. So yeah, disputing that is really important. Even if you are in a relationship which is not right for you, or you're in the wrong relationship, that is still really not that bad, because living with someone really has its own benefits, because you're able to share responsibilities, you can share the house bills, you can share like house chores. If you get ill, you have someone to look after you, or if they get ill, you have someone to look after, because and that is a positive, because looking after people can also be something very fulfilling. It provides spaces and opportunities to bond with each other and build a relationship even further and connect with each other. When you're literally there for your ill partner or loved one, and you like help take care of them and nurse them back to health, it creates like a stronger bond between you two as well. So you can have those fulfilling moments. Of course, even if you're not in the happiest relationship ever, that doesn't mean you won't have some happy moments still, because you're living together. There will be moments where you perhaps are going to laugh about something together, or you're going to share some happy moments, some nice meals together. You're going to like look nice for each other. Occasionally, you might have like not might you probably will have occasional sex here and there as well, even if you're not very happy, because you both are married and you're like, okay, we're stuck together, so might as well just also fulfill our needs. If you decide to have a family, then that becomes your next focus as well, because your children are what like then become the fulfilling factor in your life. And despite being in the wrong relationship, you would not change that at all, because you have these children now, and being with a different partner would mean not having these children at all, and you wouldn't want your children to be erased from existence essentially. So then children become the focus, and then you like both as parents become like a guiding force for them, and that becomes like, even if it's not like the most sexually charged and the most romantic relationship ever, it still becomes a partnership and companionship where you come together to look after your kids, because the love for them is something that you both will still share, even if you don't share a lot of love for each other, or like the most utmost level of like the best level of love and intimacy with each other. So there are still like a ton of benefits to live with someone, even if it's not the right relationship. Because, and also like, what is the right relationship really? Because people also absolutely marry for love, and then like maybe 7, 8, 9 years later, love can also fade away. Or people can marry feeling completely uncertain about each other, and then some years down the line, they can actually develop a really strong, great connection with each other as well. So it can go both ways. A great like example to look at is my side of the world, where arranged marriages are still a very prominent force, especially in some areas of the country, and a lot of people don't have full choice to choose who they marry as well, because like parents are often pressurizing their children to get married. Parents are literally after the children to get married, sit down with someone, and children find it hard to say no to their parents. That the match that they suggest, and if they don't like it, they still find it hard to say no. So lots of people, by the way, have ended up marrying people that they didn't want, and they don't have like maybe the best emotional bond with them, or maybe probably not even that great in bed, to be honest. But they've still built a life together, and in that sense, because they accept their life for what it is, then they've been able to like surround their life around their new family, their in-laws, their children, focusing on that stuff, and really like that becomes like the motivation and driving factor of their life, which again, but then it also can become a debate of, oh no, but then we should aim to do better and not just settle for relationships, of course. But then with OCD, you won't be able to have absolute certainty about what isn't. Is this reality? Is this OCD? Should I be aiming for more? Should I not be aiming for more? And again, it comes down to looking at your worst case scenario. What is exactly your worst case scenario? What is it that you're afraid of? Is it is it really that bad that you can't accept those circumstances no matter what? I would 100% suggest looking up stories of arranged marriages from my country, from India, because these are two places where this stuff still prominently happens quite a lot. And right now, because where you have this fear of being in the wrong relationship, it also, like where OCD goes wild is also with the element of choice. Compared to if you are in like a place like mine, then you don't have a lot of element of choice, because it is often directed by what society is dictating, or what your parents are saying, or what your siblings are saying, or what other elders are saying. A lot of fears are derived, not fears, so a lot of decisions are made based on that. So those would be good perspective shifters for people who have this fear of being in the wrong relationship. So yeah, that's what I wanted to cover. It's still a long video, even though I didn't go into like a lot of detail of like breaking down each and every fear. But I hope this helped, and I'll be back with another video very soon. Bye.